Welcome to episode 1 of Journey of an ARC Student. This series follows Angelina through our 12-week Apex Research Collective program, where she transforms into a professional research fellow. By the end, she'll author a published white paper read by private banks, family offices, and Asia's wealth management leaders. Let's first hear an introduction from the mentors and Angelina herself.
My name is Julian. My background is actually very diverse. A lot of people always ask me, how did I manage so many different things in such a small lifetime? So I've had probably 3 decades of professional work so far, of which I spent about 1/3 in legal practice. So I actually practiced law in Singapore as well as in Hong Kong, and I'm actually qualified in both of those countries, including the UK. And then after that, I spent about 1/3 of my career life in investment banking. So I used to work for UBS, RBS, Morgan Stanley, and I'm very familiar with how investment banking works in all of the different jurisdictions. So you can imagine, UBS is a Swiss bank, RBS is actually a UK bank, and Morgan Stanley is a US bank. They're all very different. And yet, at the same time, they're all in the finance industry. And this actually gives me a lot of very interesting experiences, which I'm happy to share. If you've got any questions as we go along, feel free to ask them. And then I spent about 1/3 of my career acting as CEOs of a lot of technology companies. Okay, so that's a very brief introduction of myself. Maybe I'll just hand over to Adrian before we come to you.
I worked for a couple of startups. The most notable ones was a ESG startup where I was the project director, trying to make companies essentially carbon neutral. Then followed that with being an advisor at a Hong Kong listed company, a sustainability advisor, and a chief business development officer at what's called Tokenize as well, which was kind of in the realm of tokenization. But just to keep it brief, now I'm doing this with Julian, co-founded Apex Research Collective as well. So that's basically my background.
My name is Angelina, and I'm 15 this year. I go to Chinese International School in Hong Kong, and some of my hobbies from the day-to-day are I play piano, flute, and I do some sports. But outside of that, I also do some community service. For example, at my school, there's an organization called Free Clinic, and we basically organize free clinic visits for underserved and underprivileged communities in Hong Kong. For my subjects, I already submitted my initial IB subject selections. So for my high-level subjects, I choose biology, chemistry, and math AHL because I feel like I'm trying to aim for a more selective university in the US more so than the UK, but I'm also applying in the UK. So I think that suits me the best. And then I also picked economics, English, and Chinese for my standard level courses. And for my aspirations for the future, I'm kind of deciding between a STEM major, so maybe biochemistry or biotechnology, or maybe finance, because I think as of now, I want to work in the finance industry after I graduate because I feel like it suits me. And I don't know, I kind of just want to do finance in the future. And for the startup, yes, I haven't really thought about it, but I would like to have my own startup in the future. And maybe it'll be, if I do a STEM degree, then maybe it'll be somewhat related to what I do. So I can have a better understanding of the market and what actually what people actually want. And I also work at a company called iMedi. They informally call me the co-founder, but I more so do more public relations.
Now that Angelina has introduced herself and her background, she is also about to reveal a critical challenge every analyst faces. Like many, she relies too heavily on AI in her everyday work, letting it generate ideas and content without enough scrutiny, which ultimately dulls her critical thinking skills. Let's hear her reflect on that struggle.
To answer your question about AI, I actually use it a lot, every single day. But I think I use it, the way I use it isn't really advantageous for me because I kind of use it to help me think, and I feel like I've kind of relied too much on it because when it first came out, our school introduced it to us, like I think 2.5 years ago. So I've been using AI since then, and I feel like I've slowly relied more and more on it. So currently, like for example, if I have some like English assignments or stuff like that, I try not to use it first because I feel like my critical thinking is kind of like decreasing, I guess. So yeah.
For those who aren't familiar with the organization, this year, ARC's objective is to develop published analysts addressing wealth management challenges, and Angelina will contribute a 10,000-word white paper analyzing a $1 trillion gap in the wealth management industry.
And like I mentioned, our vision is that not only will you become a very competent associate in a consulting firm, we believe that after you produce this white paper, you're going to be very highly sought after by a lot of private banks because of the work that you produce. Because I can assure you, when you finally see your own work, you're going to be surprised yourself.
Week 1 covers the Analysts mission. Mentors will explain the gap identification in wealth management using resources like HKMA policies and BCG reports. The process includes exploring gaps, gathering evidence, and developing AI solutions with peer review. Let's take a look at some more of the highlights from this lesson, starting with our first volume, The $12 Trillion Wars, where Angelina will have to choose one out of the 12 gaps presented to her.
What you see on the slide right now, which is the biggest problems in the wealth management industry that my peers in the private banking industry is very keen to solve today. Okay, so when I last spoke with you and we were having the discussion about which topic should you pick, okay, in reality, any one of these topics that you see here on this slide, any one of this topic is worth $1 trillion minimum. Okay, so we don't deal with problems that's less than $1 trillion.
When deciding on a gap, Angelina will have to first implement these 4 priorities. Priority 1, is the gap addressable through deployable technology? Does the solution leverage existing AI capabilities, and is it implementable within 12 to 18 months by leading private banks? Priority 2, strategic priority for industry leadership. Does the topic represent immediate C-suite imperatives such as client retention, regulatory compliance, and competitive differentiation? Priority 3, keynote caliber insight. Does the chapter possess an analysis of sufficient precision and impact to merit citation by industry executives in formal presentations? Priority 4, the maximum addressable market. If multiple gaps satisfy the initial criteria, selection would default to the greatest economic impact and size of the market. To help her determine which gaps satisfy these 4 priorities and to guide her through the rest of the program, she will be using her AI personal assistant.
And what we're going to do, and you'll find it really interesting, is that we're going to give you your own assistant. Okay, so you are the junior analyst, and you're going to have a research assistant working for you. And this is an AI research assistant, and this is where we're going to show you and demonstrate to you how you're going to use your AI to help you do that. And you can do that with your schoolwork as well in future, but we leave that aside. Let's focus first on what we're going to do in the program. Now, with that, Adrian, if I could ask you to send the prompt.
That prompt Julian referenced is the linchpin of Angelina's entire 12-week journey with us. It's not just setup. It's the contract that transforms AI from a tempting crutch into a professional research assistant. AI handles the heavy lifting, scanning briefing packets, synthesizing HKMA policies and PWMA data, spotting patterns, whilst Angelina architects, framing questions, filtering hallucinations, owning every strategic choice. Now let's hear Julian explain how Angelina will deploy Copilot to build her research foundation prior to architecting her white paper.
What I'm going to do for now is not to give you the specific links to these reports. What I would prefer for you to do is to discover them first. And obviously, if let's say over the next 1 to 2 days, you are still not able to pull these reports out, then let us know. We'll provide you with the direct links. Okay, but we hope that what you're able to do is go to, say, Copilot, ask Copilot, for example, to provide the direct links to the full PDF reports that I actually listed in the lesson plan. And I also want you to then be able to discover whether or not Copilot is going to hallucinate, right? This is something that could actually really happen, right? They might not initially be able to find the link, and then they give you another link, which is hallucinated. And if you are able to spot these, you would then go back to Copilot, tell them that the link is wrong, it doesn't work, please do better, right? And this is the iterative process that we've been talking about using AI. So we don't just key in AI, ask for the answer. We need to always verify whether or not the answer that's being given to you is correct and it's being corroborated and it's not hallucinated.
As Angelina builds her wealth management expertise, viewer skepticism about her publication will naturally increase, and it's reasonable to question a high schooler's credibility in this arena. But let's hear what our ARC mentors have to say about this.
A lot of people are very surprised, or rather very skeptical about whether or not a high school student's white paper is publishable. But I can assure you, after going through this program with us, you will be producing really high quality white paper. And we can test that out anyway when it's completed, and you can see it for yourself. They'll be very readable. They'll be very publishable, and in fact, they will be of one of the highest quality that any consulting firm associate can produce. So rest assured, we are very confident about the output or the outcome.
Angelina's first assignment is a 200-word chapter application, selecting a gap, justifying her approach, and posing a key question. It will then undergo peer review, ultimately leading to her week 2 chapter assignment.
Choose a title that you like, and then explain why it matters to you. And then finally, as I mentioned earlier, try to identify the question that you think you're trying to answer for that topic. The purpose of doing this exercise without AI is because next week, we're going to go into how we use AI to refine your question. And I want you to compare the before and after so that you can see the difference. And I want you to also be able to then provide some feedback to us, whether or not the way in which we are actually training you to use AI is actually helping to think better and more critically, or are we actually replacing your thinking with AI? And that's an exercise that we would like you to also think about next week.
Next week, observe Angelina execute her inaugural professional assignment, applying CEO-level filters to select her strategic focus from the $12 trillion wars and deploying AI as her research assistant. Witness her establish the research foundation that will build toward her published chapter and white paper. Interested in joining ARC as a research fellow? Course information and interview scheduling available in the links in the bio.